Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're talking about Buffalo Bill's Rodeo Games,
Oh,
a.k.a.
man.
Buffalo Bill's Wild West Show.
Yes.
Now, Aaron,
Yes.
you know, growing up here in the States, as we do, you grow up with a certain, we have a certain collective fascination with the Old West.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, when you're traveling, when you take a vacation with your family, you'll see certain shows. I remember we always went out to Louisville, and we always watched the Stephen Foster Story and this outdoor theater, you know. And there are various Wild West shows that you see where people are gunfighting and doing sorts of stunts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to your typical fantasy tropes, you know, you got your sci-fi, you got your fantasy, you got your Old West. Where does the Old West rank for you?
You know, when I was younger, I was the last of that of the kids in America that were like exposed to a lot of cowboy stuff.
Yeah.
Because it sort of went away.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was sort of replaced by like, I don't know, space stuff or whatever. But when I was a kid, I got the tail end of like the Davy Crockett and the Lone Ranger and Pancho and Cisco Kid, Maverick, all those shows that were on. A Gunsmoke, you had to watch that one. And so when I was a kid, to be honest with you, I wasn't a huge fan of the cowboy stuff. Now, I did there were a couple I really liked, which were the Lone Ranger. I loved the Lone Ranger. He was my number one guy.
With Johnny Depp, right?
No, God, ugh, you're choking the life out of me with that. No, I'm talking the original Lone Ranger, the good one. Any movie with the Lone Ranger, crap. All right, you watch the original Lone Ranger, Tonto. And what I liked about that show was, like, the Lone Ranger and Tonto were like a team, and they were cool. I always liked that. Because often, and this is going to sound like revisionist history, but it's true. In the old days, the Native Americans, the Indians, were treated like mostly they were just the bad guys. And so it was sort of novel that the Native American was sort of like the partner of this guy, like an equal partner. And he brought a lot of cool crap to the table because, newsflash, Native Americans are cool. Their culture was cool. They were like, they were just fun. I liked them. And so I thought that was neat. Then I watched Cisco Kid, sort of the same thing. He was sort of a bandito. Most of the time, Mexican Banditos was a bad guy, but Pancho and Cisco were the good guys. I liked them. And Zorro's another one. I liked him for the same reason. But the Western that really got me was Wild Wild West, which was sort of a cross between Western and James Bond, where these two secret agents were around in Wild West times. And that was my favorite by far of all the Western shows. And then, but I mean, that stuff sort of waned, and then it all but died.
Until
in
Will
the
Smith
80s.
brought it back.
I hate that. His version of Wild West is, and you knew it when you mentioned it, it would piss me off. So I'm not even going to comment on it except to say that it's the least favorite thing I've ever seen on any screen.
Wow.
Were you into cowboy stuff at all?
When I was a kid, I remember I watched a lot of F Troop. For some reason, that was on heavy rotation.
Oh,
on
yeah,
Nick at
F Troop. Yeah.
But my dad,
I didn't like that show that much.
My dad was obsessed with Westerns. He was obsessed with Westerns his whole life. He loved them. He couldn't get enough of them. Every day, he in his waning years, he would watch Gunsmoke, 3 or 4 Gunsmokes, a couple Bonanzas, and then finish it out with the Waltons. The Waltons aren't really a Western, but
I
it
was
was
going
on
to say
the
the
same channel.
Waltons. But I mean, it's sort of a pie. Did you ever watch that? Did you ever see that Little House on the Prairie?
No, I've never seen that.
You've heard of it, then, right?
Yeah, I
Michael
have heard
Landon.
Of it. Mm-hmm.
It was sort of more pioneer-y than cowboy-y. You know what I mean?
And there were cowboys on the periphery.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, and the Waltons was sort of like the next level of that.
Mm-hmm.
My mom and dad made me watch that too. So,
but it's kind of funny. I was reading about original Trek. And I don't know if it was Gene Roddenberry or if it was one of the other producers, but he was like, basically what we're doing is making a Western in space.
Yeah,
and
wagon train in space. That's what he used to say.
And I thought about it, and I was like, you're right. I mean, you watch a Western, and it's the same sort of plot that they have on Trek. The only difference is that they're not aliens. They're just dudes from another town or something,
I never got that. I thought, in fact, every time I hear that analogy, I'm like, this is stupid. Because Star Trek's got nothing to do with Have you ever seen Wagon Train?
I've never seen Wagon Train, but
I
I've
mean,
seen
show me the
Gunsmoke.
episode of Wagon Train where the guy that's half black and half white comes out, or they fight the giant planet-eating thing. You know what I mean? Or something sucks the moisture out of the crew. I mean, that crap didn't happen in Wagon Train.
What about when Apollo's hand comes down? That doesn't really happen on a Wagon Train.
I always assumed that he said that because TV executives are idiots, clearly. And he was like, they weren't going to buy my guys are going to take on a giant Abe Lincoln, but they would buy it's Wagon Train in space. They'd be like, "Oh, I could relate to that."
Yeah,
that's all they
especially
had.
because westerns were really popular at that time.
Right,
So,
and then everyone smokes, and then you make a deal, and then you get drunk. That's the way it used to do. That's the way I used to do it.
We need to get back to those days.
I agree, Boat.
All right, Aaron. Let's talk about Buffalo Bill's rodeo game.
Oh man. Oh boy,
look at Buffalo Bill there in pixel form. Look at his majesty.
He's a striking figure, Boat. And I'm not going to let this opportunity go by. I'm going to do what my favorite segment, which Brett hates, which is talk about the history behind the game. I'm going to do it right now. So, of course, Buffalo Bill is like an American icon, Boat. His real name is William Frederick Cody. He was born, now get this, Boat, he was born way back in 1846, okay, way back. And he died in 1917. I was just telling, this is a sidebar, but I just came across the video on YouTube when I was researching this. It's video of the actual Buffalo Bill.
I saw that at school, but the video was blocked, so I have not seen it yet.
I couldn't believe it. It's just him, a 66-year-old him, skirted with a horse, basically. But it's still neat. So, I mean, I could talk about Buffalo Bill forever, but just to give you the highlights of it, basically, this guy worked for the Pony Express, which was like the insanity mail of yesteryear, where you take horses and mail bags and drive all over the desert with people's mail.
I always appreciated that they were the mascot of Huntington East High School.
Yeah, that's a good mascot. I think that's a pretty good mascot. So get this: why did they call him Buffalo Bill? You may ask. Right? Do you know why? You probably do because you're a teacher.
I don't know why. Tell me.
He would. Now, keep in mind, this is the Old West. Buffalo Bill did a bunch of crazy jobs. So during the Civil War. He had a contract to supply the Kansas Pacific Railroad workers with buffalo meat, okay? Because buffalo they were good eating,
Mm-hmm.
So get this: allegedly, he is purported to have killed over 4,000 buffalo between 1867 and 1868.
Man, he's just a species slaughterer.
I saw he had there were endless amounts back in those days.
That's
no one
true.
cared. And
That's true until there weren't.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, buffalo used to be in this state. And there's a place near us called Buffalo, West Virginia, where buffalo used to be.
Yeah.
They're not there now. So Buffalo Bill was like sort of legendary in his own time, even before he was young, just because he'd done well in the war. He'd done all the buffalo killing. He was just this bigger-than-life guy, long, beautiful hair, crazy little beard.
Mm.
He dressed
Colonel
flamboyantly.
Sanders before Colonel Sanders was
cool. Oh, he was way cooler than that. So, of course, what do you do when you're a guy like that? And you see the West is sort of shutting down, you know what I mean? Because the 1800s are winding down. So what you do is you start yourself a show.
Mm-hmm.
And so he started a show, and the show was real successful. He would run seasons, and eventually he would even tour it like a circus. He ran
the show. I read this. He ran it for 30 years.
Yeah.
So the show was not like 5 years and he's out.
No.
Forever.
And get this. So his Wild West show toured Europe 8 times. 8!
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
Well, I mean, talk about that's the height of exoticism. Is like, you want to see something from a totally different culture? Go see Buffalo Bill's Wild West show.
Can you imagine anywhere, but especially in Europe, because that was a foreign concept. So he toured 8 times between 1887 and 1906. So, and then, like I mentioned, in 1912, they had a 3-reel video or movie where he plays himself at the beginning and end of the film, and the premise of the film is he's having a dream. Life is a dream. And so but he was actually in the movie. So we could go on and on about Buffalo Bill because he's awesome. Look into it. Please consult your local library, Boat, because he's awesome. So now let's talk about this game, and then we'll let you judge for yourself. This game's got 3 names, Boat. You can call it Buffalo Bill's Wild West Show, or you can call it Buffalo Bill Cody's Wild West Show, or you can call it Buffalo Bill's Rodeo Games, okay? I even saw some places that just had it called Rodeo Games. So there were 3 different names there. This came out in 1989 on 2 discs and developed by Tyne Soft and published by Tyne Soft
as well. It's time to talk about It's Tinsoft, actually.
Is it okay? I'm sorry. You're probably right there. You're gonna cut a promo here.
It's been a while since we've done a Tinsoft game.
Yeah,
every time
I looked at done.
Every time we do one, I'm just like, man, this is not a good company. Okay.
Yeah.
We haven't gone back and talked much about Tinsoft. They started out in the 8-bit era. They were founded in 1983. These 2 guys, Chris and Martin Pugh, okay? They were based in Bladen, okay? The Bladen is the city. Tin and Ware is the county, and the state is England, okay? I think that's how the British address system works, okay?
Yeah.
Maybe England's the zip code. I'm not sure. Anyway, Tinsoft was active through the 80s and the 90s. They did all kinds of games for all the systems that you suspect. There some notable titles by them include Super Gran. Do you remember Super Gran, Aaron?
See, I don't think we ever played that formally, but I think I did look at that with you on stream.
I didn't know if you were aware of Super Gran in modern culture.
Oh, the only reason I know about Super Gran is because I believe Benny Hill mocked Super Gran.
Yes, that makes sense. Yeah, because this is, of course, grandmother with superpowers.
Yeah.
They did The Last Mohican, Aaron. So this was not their first game featuring Native Americans.
Yeah.
This was also not their first game. They also did a game in 1988 called Winter Olympiad 88.
Yeah,
and so,
it stinks.
Yeah, and so they combined their skills with the Native American. They combined Last Mohicans and Winter Olympiad. They joined forces together to form, you guessed it, first-person pinball. I mean, Buffalo Bill's Wild West extravaganza.
Oh wow, burial.
So yeah, Tinsoft. If they have good points, we have not come across them yet.
They also, Boat, I think we looked at this on stream once, they were also behind Circus Games. If you'll recall that. Yeah. Because we said the same thing. Oh, it's a Circus Games. Remember, it was also called Ringling Brothers. Remember that one?
Yeah.
So that was them as well. So yeah, they've got a rep for their games. So with all that said, Boat, I will give them credit. What they lacked in quality, they made up for it spreading it around. This particular game was all over the 8-bits, everything you would expect, the CPC, the BBC Electron, the C64, the ZX, and then, of course, they hit a couple of 16-bits along the way with the ST and Amiga and DOS. I want to talk about the guys that worked on this boat. Most of them didn't do much, but there were a couple things in here that surprised me, if I may be so bold. This was coded by 2 fellows, Bruce Nesbitt, who apparently never did anything else on the Amiga, and Steve Tall, who worked on Gods, one of your favorites.
Oh, well.
And then the graphics were done, and the graphics actually are by far the best part of the game.
Yes.
Were done by Paul Drummond. He worked on a bunch of games we just talked about. He also had a hand in Elvira 2, the Simon the Sorcerer games.
Okay.
The Summer and Winter Olympiad, Superman, Winter Challenge, and one of your personal favorites, Boat, Waxworks.
Oh, my God.
So he did Elvira 2 and Waxworks.
Well, listen, there's no denying he can draw a good picture.
And then something else in this game that's a standout, the music. You may have heard of this guy, Boat. He got around. His name's David freaking Whitaker, brother. He did everything, just to knock off a couple of the ones we looked at. He's done both the Xenons, the original Shadow of the Beast, Fright Night, everyone's favorite, Lemmings 2, Golden Axe, and Alfred Chicken, amongst a zillion more. But those are some that we actually looked at. So what is this game? Well, this game is a game that lets you sort of put on your own Buffalo Bill show. I mean, if you really are an imaginative type, you start out at a screen, beautiful screen with Buffalo Bill pictured. There's like we mentioned, there's some nice graphics. There's a ton of music in this. When you first turn this thing on, it's playing the Yellow Rose of Texas. That's a great song.
It's a popular tune in the world of sixth grade band. It's number 137 in our method book.
Really?
Yeah.
It is every time I think about this, I think about old poor David Von Erich. They played this at his funeral show. Yeah, and then
sorry to hear that.
So, he died 30 years ago.
Well, yeah, but he died in tragic circumstances, right?
Yeah, it was weird circumstances. So anyway, you start this game up. This is not a game where we're gonna sit here and talk to you about the myriad of options. Basically, when it comes up, it asks you how many players you're gonna play, and it asks you which difficulty out of 3. And then you can play up to 4 people, and then once you've picked your characters, you're good to go. It'll let you pick which events you want to go after, and then you go after them. All right, so the difficulties do make a difference. They literally change the game to a certain degree. I don't know if did you look at the difficulties?
I had a hard enough time completing most of these events on easy that I did not venture forth into medium or difficult.
Well, I will go into some of what they do when we get to them. So let's talk about the events you've got here, Boat.
First of all, before we go into the events, we should say that each event is introduced by a beautiful piece of art.
Yeah,
I mean, this is some of the best still art I've ever seen in an Amiga game. And you can tell they weren't just ham and egging it. I mean, somebody took time to say, listen, like especially the knife throwing thing, there's some bead work on the knife sheath that is it's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Now, the knife throwing this, you play an Indian, Native American throwing at a squaw that they've got strapped to a spinning disc. We've seen this before, Boat. I believe it was in the circus game. What was that game called? The Big Top shoot. Remember the one where you try to save the circus? I believe this game is in there because I remember after you finish the failing, the wheel rolls away with whoever was on the wheel. Remember that?
Yeah.
So this game is not. I mean, I don't know which came first.
You know what they call? You know what the technical term is for knife throwing?
I don't.
Impalement arts.
Really, I would call it attempted murder. This would be my name, and then when I'm knife throwing, it's actual murder. So, in the true tradition of like a bar game, maybe darts, for example, you've got this gimmick floating around, and your goal is to throw the knives at the girl, but not hit the girl. You get points for the closer you get to the middle of the wheel, the more points you get, and you also get points based on how quickly you finish the event. This event can be performed. This is one of 2 events that can be performed with the mouse or the joystick. And when you play this event, this is one of the only events I could not identify the song. So I don't know the name of this song.
I believe that this was Cindy.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew every song in here because I have an extensive knowledge of this type of music.
I should mention right before you start the game, in the tradition of games, it plays the national anthem, which I thought was
I thought that was
kind of funny. What did you think of the knife throwing event, Boat?
Well, this is the one that I thought was the easiest. Of course, I only played it on the easiest level, which probably had something to do with it. I would imagine they probably increased the speed of the wheel on the higher difficulty levels. But what the trick is if you put the reticule on the squaw, by the time that the knife gets to the board, it will not be on her anymore, and you can kind of avoid throwing the knife at her at any time by doing that. I wish that they would have been more clear on what the scoring zones were. Like, I wish that they would have put the actual scores on the board itself, or threw up a little like sort of a score thing. They do record the score on the bottom. This is also the problem that I have with the sharpshooting game, is that I wanted more on-screen sort of like affirmation that I'd done something good.
The docs, the onboard docs, the docs say that the more points you get, the closer to the center you throw.
Right.
So you could, you're right. It would be better if they actually would, like, a score would flash out. But I mean, this game is not doing that. You can tell there. By the way, did you use the joystick or the mouse or both when you played this?
I used the joystick entirely playing this game. I didn't use the mouse at all.
Yeah. I don't blame you there. So the next event, so you finish up the
Oh,
squaw throwing.
we should mention also that if you do happen to hit the squaw, the game is immediately over and blood seeps in from the bottom of the screen
Yeah,
and covers the screen.
that was an interesting choice.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done that.
No.
The next event is the shooting. The shooting event. Now this one is actually sort of a double event, if you will. The first part of this has you shooting at these pop-up targets in the desert.
It's a Hogan's Alley in the Old West.
It's funny how many of these targets you're not supposed to shoot.
The majority.
So you don't shoot the guys with their back to you because you're a good guy, I guess. You don't shoot the sheriffs. You don't shoot the little kids or the ladies. You only shoot. You don't shoot the geek with his hands up. All you shoot are the guys that don't have a badge and that are looking at you, and also the guys that come in like
there's a bandito type guy.
Yeah, there's a bandito. By the way, I like how you just shoot the bandito on sight. The banditos have no choice.
you know.
There are no good Mexicans in the realm of this game. By the way, I've got a full bandito outfit, so I'm appalled for multiple reasons on that. But yeah, so but you're right. It's sort of a real low end Hogan's Alley. This one you need a mouse.
This one you don't
use the joystick.
And again, like not only do you not get a score upon hit, but the target doesn't actually do anything.
Yeah.
Regardless if you hit the target or not, it pops up and then it goes back down.
Which is it's double lame.
Yeah.
I hated that. And occasionally, like a little critter will come through the
Looks
screen,
like a space
or
invader.
there's a UFO that comes through as well, but that's dumb. The second part of this is the shoot the cups area.
Bottles.
Whatever. This guy throws glass up in the air, and you're supposed to shoot it. Again, not a satisfying event. Like what should be happening in all these events is scores should be shooting off when you do something. And this one, it just keeps track of the bottles you shot. I should mention, by the way, in the other difficulty levels of this, you have to reload. In easy, you don't have to reload. Just keep shooting for these two events. I didn't think this event was that good. Either part of this event. I mean, shooting the cups in the air, or the bottles I guess that's sort of neat. I mean, I don't know how many did you have. Do you remember how many you shot when you did the best?
I think 2 or 3.
I think I shot 5 one time. I will say that all the backgrounds, the animation on all these are real nice.
Yeah.
I mean, so we don't blame the art. We don't blame the artists. We don't blame the people that did the music. By the way, on this level, you're playing Shortening Bread. Shortening Bread. It's another classic. Some of these you're delving into something like the South a little bit on some of these.
Well, there's sort of an overlap there.
What, did you like this one overall?
No.
Okay. Me?
I like the target shooting. I mean, it's hard to do target shooting badly. There are things that could have been better, but it did what it was supposed to. It just did it poorly.
Speaking of doing something badly, by the way, here comes bronco riding. I sucked at this event. This event is not made to work on anything except the slowest Amiga. I mean, this thing. Every time I tried this, it was super fast.
This is a game where as soon as the game begins, you get this is another one of these games. This is a lot like, I believe, the Alpine games that we played, where you don't actually spend the event looking at your guy on the screen. Instead, what you do is you look at a gauge. You look at a gauge off screen, and your whole attention is focused upon that. And what you see is a gauge with 4 cardinal directions on each direction, and you have to push the joystick in the opposite way of what these gauges are filling up. And as you ride the bucking bronco, more and more the gauges fill up more and more erratically, until sooner or later you are thrown off the bucking bronco. I believe that in real rodeo, don't you get, like, after a certain amount of time, isn't it over, like 8 seconds or something?
Well, on bull riding, I don't know about a bucking bronco. I don't know.
Okay.
Listen, this could have been fun, but it sucked. I mean, I couldn't play it. So I can't just kill the game for this. It could just be a computer thing.
I'll tell you what I did is that I took this over to the FSUAE, and I loaded it up on. It wouldn't run at all on an Amiga 500, so I had to, or at least in my experience, because WHD load doesn't work. So I had to load it up on a 600, and it did play slow enough for me to have some success with the bucking bronco. I actually think this is one of the better events. What they should have done was just put the gauge on the screen, like make the directions with the horse, have the arrows that are around the horse fill up or something like that. Any game that you have to take your eyes off your character and just watch a gauge, that's no good.
It's a real bummer because, I mean, this event had a lot of all these events. They could have done a great job. They just didn't. Is the problem. By the way, when you play this one, the thing plays "Oh Susanna." When you play this one, I like this one. The gauge I thought was pointless. I love the background. I love the art. The animation on the horse is awesome. This could have been great, but I didn't like it. I thought this was probably my least favorite event. So at that point, you're halfway through the events here. So it's time for the Stagecoach Rescue. Now this event here's an event you cannot play on a gamepad. I can tell you that right now. So in this event, by the way, when this one plays, it's playing Yankee Doodle. When you play this one, look at that beautiful art right there.
Yeah, like I said, each one of these intro, like you could frame this. It looks so good.
Yeah. So in this game, you're trying to catch a stagecoach with an Indian on top of it, or Native American, if you will, who's throwing luggage at you, which I think was funny. Now, you've got to avoid. This is sort of like Larry in the Three Stooges game, where you're avoiding all the obstacles on the path to get the radio. In that mini game, you have to avoid the luggage to get your horse close enough to the stagecoach to jump up there and have a fist fight with the Indian. So, in this game, there's I guess you'd sort of call this different planes of scrolling. The horse looks cool. All the background stuff look great. And you've got a life bar that'll tell you how much damage you've taken from the luggage. But what you have to do is basically waggle your joystick real fast to get your horse to run fast enough to get to the stagecoach. Then you hit the button, your guy will climb up on the stagecoach. Then you have a fist fight with the Indian, and now either time will run out, or I guess you could maybe take off his energy. I never could. I never knocked him out. I got to the point where I had more energy than him, but that was it. So I don't know if you could knock him off or not. What did you think of this one?
I was completely unsuccessful at this game. I could not get to the stagecoach. I waggled. Well, I didn't waggle, but I was using a D-pad, and I was pressing left and right as fast as I possibly could. Definitely as fast as I could if I was using a stick. And I could not approach the stagecoach. I must have been doing something wrong, because I could not even get close.
I had to get the old Wicco out. And
maybe that was it.
Yeah,
maybe
you can't do it with a gamepad. Yeah. You can't. Yeah. Trust me on this. And also, you're dodging crap while you're waggling. So you sort of have to waggle real fast, get up on the thing.
It's unfortunate because I think this has the potential to be the best event in the game.
Yeah,
because it employs lots of different mechanics. You're trying to get to the stagecoach while you're dodging. Then once you get up there, it looks like this quote unquote fighting system doesn't look too bad.
Well, it's dumb. But here's something else that's dumb.
Here's
how I would have done it. Low praise. You don't have a Native American or an Indian up here. What you do is you have a bank robber, stagecoach robber, and they're robbing the coach. This writes itself. Why would the Native American guy stand up? That doesn't make any sense. Plus, the stagecoach is empty. Yeah. There's not even anyone driving the stagecoach.
It's sort of an oversight.
Yeah, so that was kind of dopey, but it was what it was. So next out of the chute here, as we go through these, is the old calf roping. So calf roping is an interesting event. By the way, this one has actually the last one had the William Tell Overture. This one has Skip to My Lou. I think I skipped one in there. So this one, you start off on you start off in a gate like at a rodeo pen. They release the bull, and you have to navigate near the bull with your lasso. You have to lasso the bull, and you have to pull him down. On the first level of this, you just basically go through this empty pen, a big empty
it's a huge
field.
Pen. It's several miles long.
Right, and then as you add difficulty, crap gets in your way. And also the bull will move back up and down to make it harder to get beside him. This event was actually, I didn't hate. It was kind of fun, and I actually was successful on this. Now, this does feature the distance meter, the distometer. Is that surely that's not real, is it, Boat?
No, that's a made-up word.
The distanceometer. I thought that was dumb, and also not necessary.
Yeah,
you can tell how far away you are.
You can see the calf is right there in front of you. You don't need to know how close you are.
It's kind of cool to be able to throw the rope out, because I screwed up about 1 million times, and the actual other levels just make this sort of challenging. So this one I thought was pretty good. What'd you think?
Yeah, this is a good one. This is a good one. This is one that It's not easy. I mean, it's not brain dead easy to
Yeah.
throw the lasso and get the calf down, but it is very satisfying when you do it.
Yeah.
And it tells you like the scoring makes sense because it's like the faster you can do it, the more points you get.
It's rewarding.
Yeah.
I enjoyed.
And again, I love the way that you twirl your lasso around.
Yeah.
You know, as you're approaching the calf. Again, the graphics on this are great.
Yeah, again, this is one. Could they have done this better? Oh God, yes. But this one, they put just enough effort in it to make it not suck horribly. I guess that's a compliment. So then you've got steer wrestling. Now I'll let Boat tell you the funny story to this one. This one has Buffalo Girls, by the way, when you play it. And this was the old bit where you ride your horse up on a younger steer. You jump off your horse, you grab the steer by the horns, you grab the bull by the horns, if you will, and then you wrestle it to the ground through this little mini game that comes up where you also waggle your joystick. If you jump too soon, you will get trampled, basically. And if you get too far in front of the thing, you'll get trampled. Pretty much, unless you're perfect, you're getting trampled, brother. What you think of this one, Boat?
Well, when you play this one, if you play the version that we played, as soon as you make a successful steer mount, the game freezes up on you, and it's
you have
game
to call
over,
it that.
baby.
Is that what it's called, a steer mount?
That's what I call it.
Well, I'm not surprised. Mine did the same thing.
And
by
so
the
I
way.
never got to play the second mini game in which you physically wrestle. Can you imagine? I mean, we do a lot of stupid things to animals, but subjecting a young cow to just like being wrestled to the ground by a guy that jumps on its back. What are we doing here?
That's not stupid. You got to do that because
you?
when you're out, because they're running away. This is the Cowboys. This is a skill they actually have to know.
Okay.
Because when you think about it, so you're out on the plains,
Right.
right? All of a sudden, this uppity little cow, or this little, it's first of all, it's not a cow, it's a freaking steer. And so a little steer this isn't like a baby. This thing can, this guy gets ran over hundreds of times when we play this. And you know he's been killed whenever all the times we screwed up. And then, so yeah, but in the real world, you have to learn this skill.
Okay.
Think about it. It's humane to violently throw them down. It's cool. People go cow tipping all the time. No worries. So there you go. And that's your ball game, I believe, Boat. I think that's your whole game there. So as we look back on this, Boat, again, that last event, we were sort of boned because the WHD load locked up whenever we successfully did it. But like I told Boat, once I was successfully on that cow, of the hundreds of times I tried, that I felt like I was a big winner. So I was cool with it.
This game is, it does a lot of things right, but it does a lot of things wrong. Okay. You might think, how do you screw up a games game? Well, if you need to know the answer to that question, check out Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. The main problem with this game is that it takes too long to try to practice events. Whenever you're playing a games game, you got to put in time to get good at these things a lot of the time. Okay. And so most of these games, like the standard bearer, are the epics games, California games, winter games, summer games. They introduce a practice mode in which you're not scored, but as soon as you can practice events, and it's like you do it, you either pass or you fail, you practice again, you're right back in there. In this game, there are multiple parchment scrolls that are unraveled each time you do anything. And it probably takes you about 10 seconds in between tries at any one particular game.
Yeah.
That's strike one. Strike two is that the game doesn't give you any sense of like your overall score as you're moving through these games. Even though you can set this game up to play these games in sequence, you're not working towards the prize of being like the king of the rodeo or something like that. There's no podium sequence at the end of this game.
We're not being king of the rodeo, no matter whether it's a podium. We wouldn't have seen that podium. We were more like the clown goes out there and it gets the bull to come at it.
Yeah,
the rodeo clown. We sucked.
Yeah, and so that's a big incentive to play all of the events on California games or winter games or whatever, because at the end of it, you get a total score and you're like, hey, I'm going to write that score down. I'm going to try and beat my score next time. Or, hey, I won the gold medal. I'm awesome. Go USA. And so, and without that, why would you play this? This game doesn't even have like a high score list within the events itself.
It's got one at the end. I do
it
know
does,
that.
but it doesn't have. But again,
Yeah.
it doesn't tell you your. Well, it does tell you your scores. They don't make a big enough deal. Like, I'm pretty sure that Summer Games and Winter Games came out before this. I'm almost certain.
Oh God, yes, absolutely,
And
yes,
so
yes.
the template had been drawn already for this thing. You know what to do to make a good games game, and I don't know why they didn't go the extra mile, because they did all the hard work. The hardest part about game development, I've heard, is getting the play control right, getting the animation right, coming up with a variety of events. They've done all that stuff. I wouldn't say any of these events are just flat out bad. Some are better than others, but none of them are horrible. But they just didn't they didn't go the final 10% to put any kind of a sheen on this. Like, we're watching the bottle throwing right now, like we talked about before. Just having something happen when you have a hit, to tell you, yeah, you did a good thing, not displaying your score here. Why didn't they just make this, add another line to tell you your score? I don't know what, but the scoring seems inconsistent. Everything about this just says, why didn't you just spend one? And again, with Amiga games, like, you never know if they were under the gun. But with a game like this, it's not like it was like a licensed title and they were rushing to cash in on when the movie was released. Buffalo Bill had not been in business for a long time when this game came out. So
you don't think he was starting the tour the year that they had to get this done by Christmas? So Buffalo,
it's
they could ride off the Buffalo Bill money.
This is the tale of a game that might have been.
I agree with pretty much everything you said. And here's the thing that gets me. Someone spent an agonizing amount of time on this artwork. This is like Cinemaware level art.
Yes.
Okay, and I say that, you know how much I love Cinemaware.
Yeah.
All right. The games in this, none of the games, it's a mixed bag. I wouldn't call any of these things ultra great, but they were serviceable, and they botched them. They botched the execution of, like, some of the games just aren't very good, and some of the games, they didn't think through, like, the controls, or and they didn't put, you're right, they didn't put the sheen. We want points. I want to see what's going on. I want to see the points fly off. I want to see more animations for when the bottles hit the ground. When you explode a bottle, there's no special effects in this at all. It's all music. There's no sound effects at all. So why? I mean, what are we doing? We can't have sound effects. It's a rodeo. I want to hear stuff like that. I want more and better. And I don't think that's too much to ask. And Tynesoft has a habit of turning in these sort of midland, lower end efforts, and this one really irritates me because the amount of effort that they put towards all the stuff that should be the most difficult stuff to do. You think you just sit down with deluxe paint, crank out that Indian chief or this stagecoach picture? That crap took someone days. And then to animate the horses and the cows, stuff's hard. What are we doing? Why are you wasting that? Morons. We looked at this on the PC as well, the DOS version of this. And the DOS version of this is very similar, except crappier looking. I'd say you're in like an EGA mode here, Boat, looks to me.
I'm not going to say that it looks crappier. Like, if you look at that opening picture, there's more colors in that opening picture than there are in the Amiga version.
No way. I didn't see that at all. I got to see that again. Because look at on the screen. It's so much worse. It looks so much worse than the Amiga version.
I won't lie to you. That does look worse. But
look at that. Does that look better?
That's an abomination right there.
Okay.
Click away from that immediately.
Look at now, but they did port some of the other pictures. It looks like an EGA joint to me.
Yeah.
It's got the stink of EGA. I always laugh when people are like, they're longful for the days of EGA. No, you're not. Because you didn't live through this. I mean, CGA was dog, ugly, god-awful, but EGA was just like CGA's older, slightly more impressive, dumb brother. So don't get fooled by these geeks that are out paying $200 for an EGA card. That's for suckers.
What's worse, the EGA guys or the MT audio guys?
Oh, man, you're really... This is a show for another time. I'm not going to get into that. I wanted to mention this before we get too far into the reviews we got. Of course, I didn't try this on the Atari ST, but according to Moby, in 1990, ST Format said that this game was amongst the top 50 games of the year. So I don't know if that means they didn't release that many games, or maybe it's really good on the ST. It struck me as odd. And what struck me as even odder is I tried to find this on eBay amongst its 40 names. The only versions of this I could find, I found someone selling the Atari ST version for $22 or best offer in the UK. And I saw someone selling the ZX version of the tape for $7. That's it. I could find it for no other versions. So there you go. Lemon gave this a score of 6.67, so they're just a tenth of a point away from the dreaded 6.66, which would have been appropriate. There's only 2 reviews I found. CU Amiga gave it an 81. Zap gave it an 80. What did the Patreon or the Discord folks think of this one, Boat?
Well, you could say both ways because every member of our Discord channel is a Patreon supporter of the show.
It was a plan, Boat.
It was a plan. We're going to start things off with Ravi, the one and only Ravi Abbott, legendary Amiga user. He says, this game perfectly captures West Virginia as I imagined it as a clueless Brit. Well, Ravi, you're not far off. I'm roping steers every day.
I throw knives at girls. That's what I do. All the time, just throw them.
I absolutely adore everything about this title. From the well-drawn graphics of the menus and backgrounds to the impressive demo scene quality images that introduce each event, this game truly harnesses the power of the Amiga. There was no lag or lazy porting to be found, and while I played as a single player, I can only imagine how fun it would be to compete with friends. The repetitive music didn't bother me too much, and it had my foot tapping throughout the game. I particularly enjoyed the change in music as the events progressed. Each event was well thought out and could stand on its own as a decent Amiga PD game. The option to either use a mouse or a joystick made me think using a light gun for certain events like bottle throwing would be an exciting addition. The difficulty level is not too high, and the shortness of the events allowed for repetition and improvement. As a city slicker, I did find myself needing a manual to understand the rules better. The native Indian patterns on the wagon and the lower menu were some of the most beautiful colors I've seen on the Amiga. Overall, this game is a hidden gem and a fun experience that I thoroughly enjoyed.
I can't tell if Ravi's being sarcastic or not. Is he? Can you explain that review to me, Boat?
Who can say? Who can say? We heard from Pajako6502. He said, "This is one of the most beautiful This has some of the most beautiful hand-drawn pixel art I've seen in an Amiga game, and the animation and the overall presentation is top-notch. There's only really music and no sound effects, but I can live with that. I really wanted to like this game, and I gave it a good go, but in the end, it just bucked me right off. A couple of the levels were often over before you even realized what was going on. The Bronco ride was the worst of these offenders, and the controls on a couple games were glitchy, at least on the version I played. But really for me, the game is let down by the restart cycle. This can take around 10 seconds, and with some rounds lasting 10 seconds, the restart time is a real chore. I checked out the 8-bit versions of this, and in terms of gameplay, I found the majority of them to play better with the Amstrad CPC version being the most playable. They all still suffered from their long reload, though. Real shame is this was so close to greatness. 6 out of 10.
Well, they liked it more than us. Clearly.
Yeah, I'm in line with Pajako. I don't think I would put this at around that 6-7 range.
I think it was lazy. I mean, you mentioned it. Everything you said was right. Mm-hmm. So why aren't you killing it more?
Because I don't think it deserves to be killed more.
Are we going to play this the next time we have an Amiga Fun Day?
I hope not.
No. But you just gave it a D.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there's tons of games, including that awesome Olympics title that we played at 2 Amigathons ago. That needs to come back before
those are better. You know, did you like this better than the circus one?
Yes, I did. I did like
too.
This one better than the circus
I did too. Okay, I guess we can agree with that one. So there you go, everybody. For God's sakes, get into Buffalo Bill, but take this one with a grain of sand.
If you ask any Amiga repair technician what the most problematic component of a motherboard is, they'll undoubtedly mention capacitors. The electrolytic capacitors that shipped with the Amiga are 30 years old or older at this point, and each one is a ticking time bomb waiting to explode battery acid all over your motherboard, sometimes damaging it irrevocably. Don't wait. Replace your capacitors now. Full capacitor kits for every Amiga model are available now at RetroRewind.ca. Don't want to attempt the repair yourself? Use their white glove recap service and leave the intricate removal and soldering process to the professionals using industry standard equipment. Use the promo code Amigos10 at checkout and save 10% off your cap kit or service. Remember, make RetroRewind.ca your first stop for all your Commodore computer needs.
Amiga News.
Right here.
I'm fixing it. Go, Boat.
It's time, Aaron, for some Amiga news action. You know, it's
Yes.
been a crazy busy week. The games, Aaron, just don't stop coming. Now, this first game, and a lot of this gaming news comes to us directly from the source for new games for the Amiga, at least our favorite source, Indie Retro News. Nobody does it better, as Lionel Richie said. So
I'm
this
thinking of
is
the Bond song. Go ahead.
Amiga. This is now, Aaron. I don't know anything about Breakthrough. Is this an arcade game that you've played a lot of?
No. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what it is either. So maybe this is one we missed. I don't think I played this, but
Yeah,
if I'm honest.
This I guess this is a 1986 side-scrolling shooter by Data East, and it looks kind of like a side-scrolling Jackal. That's kind of like what it looks like. You can jump like the Duke Boys though, which is good.
You got Moon Patrol wheels on this thing.
Yeah.
This thing doesn't look too. Look at this landscape. There's boulders falling. Look at that. He did a loop. This looks great.
Yeah.
It's now my favorite game, Boat.
So listen, you can run this on a 1 meg Amiga. So this will work on any Amiga. You can check out. It looks like that this is just a demo right now, but. Again, Aaron, this is just another one of these crazy, awesome arcade to Amiga ports, and that Acid Bottle is behind this one. Our buddy AD.
Man, that looks. I'm going to have to go play the arcade game of that. That looks pretty good, Boat.
Yeah.
Good find for Acid Bottle on that one.
All right, Aaron. Now we go. It's Easter's over, but really, Easter, much like Christmas, is all year round as long as you've got Easter-related games to play. However, we've been in kind of short supply over the past, 40, 50 years.
I can't name any. Can you name any Easter games?
Luckily, Per Ola Eriksson is showing off this game called Hop to the Top. This is a game developed in Amos by Rob Smith Dev. I don't believe that we've heard much about Rob Smith Dev before. But it's
not the Rob Smith, surely.
I don't know who that is. Is he a wrestler?
Isn't that the lead singer of the Cure?
Oh, that's Robert Smith.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Get it right or pay the price.
Oh man, my bad.
So this looks like this looks pretty good. This is kind of a Rainbow Islands-esque platformer where you're hopping up on platforms, to get higher and higher to get the chocolate eggs that you desire.
Is that what he's after?
Yeah.
Chocolate eggs?
Yeah. Rabbits love chocolate eggs. It's a little known fact.
What's he doing with all his eggs, Bo?
You eat them. You just eat them and you move on.
See, you're way off here, okay?
What?
Because so what's happening here, okay? When have eggs ever been more expensive than they are right now? All right,
Never.
This guy's going to the money banks. What he's doing?
That's true.
Now look at the flood. What is that? That was at the end of this. He just got flooded out. That was weird.
Yeah,
it's like he's looking for eggs in Milton.
Yeah, well, this is they're tackling multiple religious themes at once. You got your Easter and you got the Great Flood all in one game.
I don't know how this guy could have done any better.
Move over, Super Noah's Ark 3D.
Yeah, let me ask you a question here. This is only slightly off the subject, but like you mentioned, Easter's come and gone, right? Did you hear that? Eggs are super expensive. Did you hear that people were dying potatoes instead of eggs? That's right.
It's pretty good.
Your alley,
I like it.
What would that be? I don't know. As a kid, when you get an Easter potato in the basket, that's a real letdown, Boat.
It's like something out of the Depression,
You're right. Next, what's radish or something next? This looks pretty good, though.
So, according to Pixels at Dawn, who knows all, sees all,
Yeah.
Rob Smith Dev is the guy that made the drawbridge floppy drive, that thing. And then he's also the guy behind the retro.directory site, Aaron.
Oh, we like that.
Yeah.
I know. Even I know about that.
Right. So
I can't remember what you said the other thing was he did, the floppy
the
drive.
drawbridge floppy drive. This is a thing that I believe it lets you read Amiga discs on your PC. I think that's what it does.
I'm not doing that. That sounds good if that's your bag.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just not. It's not our bag. It's a boat.
No, I hate discs.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron.
There
Next
you go.
up, it is Super Xevious 12,000. This is finally. We talked about this forever, Aaron. It's finally out. It's finally here. Super Xevious. I was not even aware there was a Super Xevious. It's here and it's ready.
Okay. I'm trying to find it amongst our news items here. I'm not seeing it.
Oh well. You're right. I forgot to approve it. Hit the refresh button.
Okay.
It'll be right at the top now.
Bam. Oh boy, so it's available right this second?
Yeah.
Oh man.
And so I want to go over the info here. So this will run. I guess you're going to need a pretty serious Amiga to make this really move quickly. But it will run on a vanilla A1200. It will run. Just don't expect peak performance.
It actually looks like it's running kind of fast. Look how quick that runs.
Maybe that's the Super Xevious.
Yeah, that must be it. It's been a while since I played Super.
I don't think I ever have. I didn't realize it was even a thing.
I mean, I guess it's a thing. Here it is.
You know? Xevious doesn't get the dap that it deserves. It was the first game of this type. Galaga, Galaxian, those games always get all the credit.
That's a different type of game, though.
Well, still, though, I mean, like this took what was going on in Galaga and turned it up to 11. It lets you move vertically on the play field. It gave you bombing capabilities.
Yeah,
it's got tons of awesome stuff.
It's awesome, cool, wacky song in the background, over and over for like 1,000 hours. You know, this looks like triple hard to me, Bo, as I watch this go by.
Yeah.
They're floating mirrors. Who wants to fight aliens and come at you with giant mirrors?
Not
if
me.
they've
I'd
got
lay
that,
down
it's
and die.
over. Yeah, it's about to just shoot yourself in the face if that happens.
Yeah.
You know, and not to mention, what are you protecting? You're bombing his little. Is this guy the invader or the good guy?
Well,
I never thought about it.
That's sort of the twist that's revealed at the end, possibly.
Is that? I think this ship is driven by a woman. Maybe isn't that the twist?
Is that the
I don't
twist?
know. I just made it up. There's gotta be something. I just
thought
wonder
you
why
were making like a bad woman driver joke.
Oh no, I'm just no. You have to be great. But I mean, look at this thing. Here's the guy. He's blowing up bomb and missile silos, but he's also just blowing up houses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he's on native lands. Like, so what?
True.
Did you ever think about that? Like, are we the bad guy in this? And you know,
I think in most games we are the bad guy.
Do you know the plot of Xevious? We're going to look into that.
Yeah. We'll have to check out the Xevious lore.
How did we even get a foothold on these people? They've got unlimited armaments. Everywhere you go, they've got crap. Like, it's amazing. Still, it looks great. I want to try that big time.
It does.
Put that on the list.
This next story, we're kind of going back and forth from like original Amiga games to arcade ports. This is Box for Amiga. Okay.
Yeah.
This is, I believe that I played a little bit of this before. The original, or maybe it was Box 3.
What are the previous boxes, folks?
Yeah. But this is one of these games where you're walking around, you're collecting coins. It looks like a game that was developed on the old Backbone engine. If we're being
check out the Retro Guru there. That's a cool. I like that. He's floating around. So let's have a look at this thing here. I'll be honest, I don't remember any of the box.
Yeah,
the
I played this.
Games.
This is the kind of game that I love. I love platformers that look like this. I guess this was built with the Scorpion engine, and it was shown off here last week at the Revision 2023 release party. So
this looks like the same kind of
big. Oh, go ahead.
The graphics look like they remind me of the graphics in that River Raid.
Yeah.
Game that they
reloaded. Yeah, River Raid Reloaded or whatever. Yeah. So anyway, this is free. You can give it a go today.
Wow.
It is out and about. Highly recommended if you enjoy platformers. This is available on that French site, pouet.net.
A free one, eh? Man, this looks... I can't believe they just gave this away. This looks like a lot of work was done.
Mm-hmm.
Holy, so look at that. You know, and this is that kind of style. Listen, stylized graphics. When you put your fingerprints, you know what I'm saying, on the thing, I like that, man.
Mm-hmm.
So I like... This looks great. This is another... Remember, we're going to have a lot of stuff to play going forward. That's new. I love that. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And our final game update this week, Aaron. This is one just for you and Rob Flack O'Hara. This is Karate Champ, Aaron.
Oh,
There's
man.
a new update, a new work in progress update. This is you can check it out. I guess that it doesn't. Neil doesn't say what has been released here. Let me see if I can click into here.
It looks awesome. Look at that.
Yeah, but it keeps getting better and better. Keeps getting better and better, and so I'm really looking forward to facing off against you, Aaron, 1-on-1 on the old Amiga version of Karate Champ.
I'm not gonna lie, Bo. I mean, this is amongst my all-time favorite fighting games, and it was so early. It was the first Versus fighting game, I believe, and they did so much right. Like, the control setup for this is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good. And I was into karate big time back in the day. So when this thing honed into view, holy smokes.
Yeah.
And this looks great. I can't wait to try that. So congratulations to the team. That's a dandy.
Now, Aaron, our last little bit of news comes direct to us from the one and only Chris Edwards. He's out and about. Well, he's not really out and about. He's sequestered in his basement lair again.
Yeah.
But he's got more crap that he's dealing with. So tell us about it.
Well, I just want to mention this one because this shows you, this is a video. If I was going to give this a title, it would be called True Madness, is what I would call this video. This is when the love of your hobby, circumvents your common sense or logic.
That sounds like everything in my life.
So, Chris is going to put a Macintosh bridge board and a sound card into his Amiga, and he's also going to try to get this networking thing going, right? And so everything perpetually doesn't work, right? The Mac thing, to get this Mac thing working, he's got to get ROMs he has to open up an actual Mac, make discs on a real Mac, which he has. To get this working, he's got to go burn ROMs to get it working. And at the end of the day, it just keeps crashing and sucking. And it's slow as Christmas. Disaster. The sound card doesn't work. Right? Nothing works. So this whole video is just, I mean, it's not his fault, but it's just failure after failure. Man, I've been there so many times. The thing is, he has to go so far before the failure kicks in. That's what makes it fun. I love his stuff, because I don't have to experience that again. I can live vicariously through him. So yeah. I enjoyed this. I like the idea that a guy installs a bridge card for a Mac so you can have a crappier, slower Mac. And to do it, he brings out the faster, better Mac. And then puts the... That's what this hobby's all about.
That's right.
Doing the dumbest crap you can think of.
And
so
of course,
please.
you've got to admire his collection of neon signs. I love those. I love those.
Yes, you can admire those. And I also like the fact that he's installed a sound card in the Amiga, one of the all-time great sounding computers. But, I mean, this is a double good sound card or whatever. So
maybe
this is the way
give you
things
that
go.
MT Pie sound thing.
Yeah. So if you want to just watch, I mean, he keeps a good attitude. I would have taken all these computers and thrown them in the dump. I would be done. You've seen me. It's just like it's over. And I know what you would have done. You'd clear out every computer in the house.
It would have been. I would have never touched a computer again after something like that.
So there you go. Please check out old Crazy Chris there with his wacky antics. Always a joy, Boat.
You know what else is always a joy, Aaron?
I don't know.
All of our offerings on our many YouTube channels.
Is that all of those are joyous? Well, not always, Boat. So let's talk about just a few things that we got out this week. We'll be super brief here. So for starters, we mentioned this. I don't know if we mentioned it during the show, but this has been. I'm just gonna say it. This has been one of our most successful weeks on YouTube ever. Outside of special events. So we appreciate everybody who's clicking on our videos, hitting checking us out. Sincerely, all you people out there listening to the podcast, we appreciate you. And weeks like this make us happy and keep us going, don't they, Bo?
Absolutely, man.
Myself and the Brent got together and finally released an episode of ARG Presents, and it was the Amiga Ham Games episode. So if you're interested in seeing what games run in ham mode, this is the show for you. And then we take on a couple of these games, Pioneer Plague and Olo Fight.
Maybe we need to ask Pixels at Dawn to add a ham games category for the Amigos Game Selection Committee to vote on.
No, we don't need to do that. Pixels at Dawn, do not do that. Don't listen. There's only about 7 for number 1, and we
knock them all out. Boom.
No, we're not. No, never do that. But I will say, Olo Fight may be the worst fighting game I have ever played. So please, if you're interested in seeing that, and then Bo, tell everyone what we did on R. Sinclair this week.
R. Sinclair, we did Archon. Archon also, of course, an Amiga port. It got ported to everything. But the thing that's interesting about Archon on the Speccy is there are 2 totally different versions that were released 6 years apart. So
Yeah.
to get the scoop on that, check it out.
Yeah. Over on the Amigos Stream Team channel, which also had a real good week. Thank you for that. If you haven't subscribed to Amigos Stream Team, that's 3 words. I'd appreciate it if you give us a subscribe, check out some more stuff. On offer this week, I did a Friday Night Disaster stream last week, Boat, on the MSX that made its way over there. That was a lot of fun. I had so much fun with that one. And then our good buddy Rob Flack O'Hara did a video just last night on the stream that was a BMX games, Pumped BMX. He played that and went over some fun stories. Always fun to check out Rob. Plus a little sneak peek at some of the Big Rob's van stuff that's coming up.
I can't wait for his next
and
video.
Debuting in the next couple of days will be another Home Cooking with Happy Coding and another video from 48K RAM. That's all we got, Boat.
All right, Aaron. What do we got coming up next week?
I don't know. Public Domania. Not good. That's not good, Boat. Do you know the game for next week?
Yeah, I do. It's a point-and-click adventure.
Oh.
Listen,
Click.
Yeah, it's called Epsilon 9, The Revenge of the Sting-Ons. This is a game creation tool, or this is made in a game creation tool built in Amos, the graphic adventure creator. So you take Amos, and then you build another engine on top of it, and what do you get? Epsilon 9.
And that's when the point click kicks in.
That's right.
You know, we should mention, Bo, that literally a week from now, we'll be whisking off. Actually, a week from when you hear this, we'll be at Cocoa Fest in beautiful and scenic Chicago, Illinois. Is it actually in Chicago, Bo?
It's a suburb of Chicago. I believe it's Glenside or something like that.
That's right. And we'll be there hanging and banging. We're going to be bringing Amiga to the masses, not the classes, Bo. We'll be bringing the Amiga and some other stuff, and we'll be representing at the Cocoa Fest. Are you excited to appear at Cocoa Fest, Bo?
You know, the only computer things I've ever been to in my life are Amiga Ireland and Boat Fest. So I'll be interested to see how the Cocoa Fest kind of stacks up in that Hall of Fame.
I suspect this will be bigger than 10 Super Bowls. And
I cannot wait for the auction. I'm bringing tons of cash for the auction.
Well, we're also going to be on stage to do a live Cocoa show.
Yeah. We've been informed. We've been promoted to the main stage at the Cocoa Fest. So
that's a big mistake.
I think that we pushed the Cocoa crew out. A decision was made, and we are going to be the main attraction on the main stage.
You know, what's going to happen is we're going to show up at Cocoa Fest, and a bunch of older toughs in these old Tandy jackets that they got in 1984 are going to be walking around, and they're going to pummel you, and I'm going to laugh and point as they do it because you've been badmouth these guys. Now it's time to pay the piper. That should be a lot of fun.
Well, nobody's going to touch us when we're wearing our special outfits.
There you go. Good point. We don't know about the streaming. We'll find more out. Hope we get back to you.
Cocoa Fest will be streamed. I've been informed by the organizers. So the entire event will be streamed. Of course, we won't be on camera all the time, but just most of the time. No. I'll just sit down in front of the camera.
I'm hoping as little time as possible we spend on the camera.
We'll also probably, they'll be on Discord. We'll be posting a lot of pictures. We're going to go to the Galloping Ghost Arcade, which is, I believe, the largest retro arcade in the Midwest. On Saturday night. So be on the lookout for a report back from there, too.
Let's just say this. During the week of Cocoa Fest, and as we record this, it will be the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of April 2023. You may get a bunch of random streams for us, and you might not see us at all. We don't have any idea what's going to happen. So there you go. Take it to the house, Boat.
All right, guys. Thank you, as always, for listening. If you want to support the show, check out patreon.com/Amigos podcast. We'd love to have you as part of the Amigos family. And we also appreciate all of the fine people that watch us on Twitch. We record live around 5 o'clock, mostly on Fridays, but in the past couple weeks and next week will be on Thursday because of events. But anyway, give us a like on there, and we want to thank all of our Twitch subs, and especially thank our super moderators, Super Tech Boy and Pixels at Dawn, for doing all of their moderation activities this evening.
Well said.
All right, guys, we will see you next week, and until then, adios.
Adios.